January 26, 2024, News Report 1. Bloomberg reported that this week, the China Securities Regulatory Commission, CSRC, issued window guidance, instructing Chinese financial institutions in Hong Kong not to purchase 364-day US dollar bonds issued by local governments. These bonds, used as financing tools by local financing platforms to support infrastructure investments, have seen 27 issuances in Hong Kong over the past 2 years. However, the CSRC has recently prevented further issuances. Local governments initially chose to issue 364-day bonds to avoid the requirement for national regulatory approval for US dollar bonds exceeding 1 year. Nevertheless, this practice has now been halted. Despite the CSRC's directive to cease issuing US dollar bonds in Hong Kong, some entities have not complied and continue to do so. Consequently, the CSRC is now instructing Chinese financial institutions not to purchase these bonds, effectively preventing their issuance. The key emphasis is that without participation from Chinese financial institutions, the issuance of these US dollar bonds cannot proceed. News Report 2. According to the Wall Street Journal, on January 25, the U.S. House Committee on Communist China's Strategic Competition proposed a bill aimed at prohibiting Chinese biotechnology companies from participating in U.S. government contract bids. The bill points out the connection between Chinese biotech firms and the People's Liberation Army, explicitly naming several companies, including BGI, Amoy Diagnostics, the Third Military Medical University, and the Plateau Medical Key Laboratory. Senator Gary Peters, who introduced the bill, stated that its purpose is to protect the health of Americans, preventing adversaries like China from obtaining American DNA and using such information to jeopardize national security. Following this news, Hong Kong-listed shares of the Wuxi AppTec series were negatively affected, with Wuxi AppTec falling by 32% intraday and Wuxi Biologics by 28%. Analysts at Dahua Jixian pointed out that in the first half of last year, 46% of Amoy Diagnostics revenue came from U.S. customers, while Wuxi AppTec derived 66% of its revenue from U.S. clients. If the U.S. bill is passed, it will directly impact Amoy Diagnostics business. News Report 3. Reuters reported that according to Iranian sources, China and Iran have recently held multiple meetings to discuss the Houthi attacks on merchant ships in the Red Sea. The Chinese government explicitly stated that attacks on ships related to China in the Red Sea would impact Sino-Iranian relations. As these Houthi attacks have significantly affected China, leading to a doubling of shipping and insurance costs through the Red Sea route, many small and medium-sized foreign trade companies can no longer afford these increased costs, resulting in significant losses. While the Chinese government has expressed its requirements to Iran regarding ships related to China, internal sources in Iran suggest that, although China is crucial to Iran, Iran has agents in various regions, including Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq. The alliances and priorities in these regions also play a crucial role in Iranian decision-making, indicating limited Chinese influence in Iran. China is primarily a petroleum buyer in the Middle East, with relatively weak influence. News Report 4. Chinese Minister of Commerce Wang Wentao attended a press conference organized by the State Council Information Office on January 26. He stated that the key focus this year to promote consumption is to drive the replacement of automobiles and home appliances. He pointed out that while this is not a new idea, both automobiles and home appliances have transitioned from a period of pure incremental growth to a period where both incremental and existing stocks coexist. Wang Wentao emphasized that as of last year, China's automobile ownership had reached 340 million vehicles, and the stock of home appliances such as refrigerators, washing machines, and air conditioners exceeded 3 billion units, indicating significant potential demand for replacement. This policy aims to upgrade the Chinese consumer market by encouraging consumers to replace old cars and home appliances, thereby driving economic growth. While not a new policy direction, the Chinese government emphasizes the coexistence of incremental and existing stocks, indicating a focus on both new sales and the upgrading and replacement of existing products. News Report 5. Since the beginning of 2024, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has been engaging in a series of provocative actions. On January 15, during the Supreme People's Assembly in North Korea, Kim proposed a constitutional amendment designating South Korea as the top enemy and a perpetual main enemy. The constitution explicitly states that in the event of war, North Korea will completely occupy, pacify, and recover South Korea. Subsequently, on January 24, North Korea conducted the first launch of a new strategic cruise missile, demonstrating its capability to launch a nuclear strike against South Korea and U.S. military bases in Japan. These actions have raised suspicions about Kim Jong-un's intentions for war. Li Ching-hsien, a researcher at the U.S.-China Relations Foundation, noted that Kim's behavior is different from previous threats. It involves constitutional changes. Analysts, such as Carlin, a former CIA analyst, pointed out that the current situation on the Korean peninsula is more dangerous than at any time since the Korean War. However, U.S. officials believe that after North Korea shifts its policy towards South Korea, it may initiate some form of military action against South Korea in the coming months, but doesn't necessarily mean Kim Jong-un will launch a full-scale war. They mentioned the example of the 2010 shelling of South Korean islands by North Korea, where although there was an exchange of fire, it quickly ceased. Analysts suggest that one reason Kim Jong-un might refrain from initiating a full-scale war is North Korea's arms sales to Russia, which helps improve its economy and alleviates the pressure for Kim to take risks. Regarding the issue of denuclearization, former head of the South Korean delegation, Chon Young-taek, stated that Kim Jong-un is well aware that using nuclear weapons or starting a war would mean the end of his regime. U.S. officials have also repeatedly warned Kim Jong-un that resorting to violence will lead to severe consequences for his regime. News Report 6. According to Reuters, the United States has established a dedicated communication channel with Israel, mainly concerning civilian casualties in the Gaza conflict. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken, during a meeting with the Israeli wartime cabinet on January 9, stated that the U.S. needs to understand the humanitarian crisis occurring in Israel during times of war. He emphasized that the U.S. hopes Israel provides a reliable communication channel for timely updates on civilian casualties in the conflict. Simultaneously, through such communication, the U.S. aims to exert political pressure on Israel, making it consider the ethical risks in military actions. State Department spokesperson Patel stated on January 24 that the U.S. condemns the attack on the UN Training Center in Haniya and is extremely concerned about the incident. This is seen as a way for the U.S. to express its concern about ethical risks. On the other hand, South Africa has filed a lawsuit against Israel at the International Court of Justice, accusing Israel of committing genocide in its military operations in Gaza. On January 26, the International Court of Justice issued a preliminary ruling, requiring Israel to take measures within its power to prevent genocide and improve humanitarian conditions. In response, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu stated that no one will stop Israel, and the International Court will not either. This statement appears ambiguous and lacks a clear expression. News Report 7. According to a report released by the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare on January 26, the number of foreign laborers in Japan reached a record high of 2.05 million as of October last year. Compared to the previous year, this marked a 12.4% increase. This data indicates that Japan is increasingly relying on foreign labor to alleviate domestic labor shortages. Japan's working-age population peaked in 1995 and has been declining since. According to current trends, Japan's labor shortage is expected to reach 11 million by 2040. Foreign labor is mainly concentrated in manufacturing, services, and retail. In 2023, the construction industry saw the largest increase in foreign labor, rising by 24%. Vietnam is the largest source of foreign labor for Japan, with a 24% increase in 2023. Additionally, Indonesia, Myanmar, and Nepal experienced significant growth in the same year. This report suggests that foreign labor is playing an increasingly important role in Japan's labor market, helping the country address domestic labor shortages. News Report 8. Bloomberg reported that the National Intelligence Office of Japan is considering collaborating with an artificial intelligence (AI) model to counter global competitors such as China. Moorchandani, the chief technology officer of the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, believes that China has an advantage in terms of the number of intelligence personnel, and AI can assist in more effectively processing and analyzing large amounts of information to increase productivity. Moorchandani pointed out that the use of AI can help the United States gain an advantage in global competition. Bloomberg reported in September of the previous year that the CIA was preparing to launch a tool similar to ChatGPT to assist analysts in better accessing open-source intelligence. It's worth noting that some intelligence agencies may have been using AI technology in practical operations, but specific details may not have been publicly disclosed. This move indicates an increasing emphasis by national intelligence agencies on the potential value of AI technology in intelligence analysis and a willingness to cooperate with advanced technologies to enhance national security and competitiveness. News Report 9. The 2024 Spring Festival travel season began on January 26, lasting for 40 days, with today being the first day. At Beijing West Railway Station, a large number of passengers with large luggage were observed in the morning, mostly consisting of migrant workers, college students, and parents. A migrant worker from Anyang, Hunan, mentioned that job opportunities in Beijing had decreased, prompting him to return home early for the Lunar New Year. China National Railway Group stated that this year's Spring Festival is expected to carry 480 million passengers, a 38% increase compared to the previous year. Since the start of ticket sales on January 12, 230 million train tickets have been sold, with 91.82 million tickets for the Spring Festival period, showing a 1.3 times increase year-on-year. In the first week of the Spring Festival, the main flow was from eastern cities and central cities to the central and western regions, with some new first-tier cities such as Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen as departure points. Guizhou, Sichuan, Hunan, Hebei, Hubei, Hunan, Shaanxi, and Jiangxi were major destinations. The Civil Aviation Administration of China predicts that there will be 17,500 flights on the first day of the Spring Festival, with 2 million passengers, a 90% increase year-on-year, doubling the number compared to the pre-pandemic level in 2019. The peak is expected to occur on February 8, with over 290,000 flights, not on New Year's Eve but the peak before New Year's Eve. Another peak will occur on February 16, the seventh day of the Lunar New Year, as it marks the peak period for returning to work. News Report 10. KITF TV station in Hawaii reported that a 25-year-old Chinese woman was attacked on January 23 in downtown Honolulu. A man in his 20s approached her and sprayed an unknown chemical on her face, causing severe burns to her face and upper body. After the attack, the victim ran to a nearby gym seeking help, and the staff immediately took her to the shower to rinse off. Witnesses described that the woman's face, arms, and upper body were severely burned, with her face disfigured, and her clothes burnt. The police stated that the victim inhaled the chemical, leading to injuries to her throat and lungs. She is currently in critical condition in the intensive care unit. The injured woman is a teacher participating in an international exchange program, serving as a Chinese teacher at the Molino School in Honolulu. This is her second year of teaching in Hawaii. The suspect was arrested on the night of January 25, and he claims not to know the victim, with unclear motives for the attack. The case is under further investigation. News Report 11. On January 26, the National Press and Publication Administration of China announced that they have approved 115 domestic game licenses, setting a new record. This indicates a gradual return to normal levels of game license issuance since 2022. An average of 87 domestic game licenses were issued each month, reflecting the thriving development of the gaming industry. In December of the previous year, the administration issued 105 game licenses, breaking the 100 mark for the first time. In January of this year, the number reached 115, surpassing the previous issuance quantity once again. This trend may reflect the growth of the domestic gaming industry and a more tolerant attitude by regulatory authorities toward game content.